Are you tired of hauling heavy, expensive bags of potting soil from the garden center only to watch your new indoor cuttings wither and rot in the dirt? What if I told you that the smartest, most efficient way to multiply your indoor garden costs absolutely nothing and requires zero physical effort? Welcome to the ultimate lazy gardener's secret. Today, we are breaking the fundamental rule of traditional gardening. We are ditching the dirt entirely. I am going to show you 20 incredible indoor plants that actually prefer to develop their roots in nothing but a simple glass of tap water. That is right. No digging, no messy potting mixes, and no guessing about soil moisture. You buy a plant once, and using this method, you can clone it endlessly to fill your home or trade with fellow homesteaders for the rest of your life. But here is the hook. Some of these plants completely contradict what experts have been telling you for years. We are talking about drought-loving succulents and massive tropical vines that magically transform into aquatic survivors. Are you ready to save money and triple your indoor harvest of beautiful foliage? Let us dive in. Before we get to our list of 20 incredible plants, we need to understand the simple magic happening beneath the surface. Why do plants that naturally grow in dry earth suddenly thrive in a glass of water? It all comes down to a remarkable survival mechanism hidden inside the plant's stem, specifically in an area called the node. Think of the node as the plant's emergency response center. In the wild, if a branch snaps off in a storm and lands in a puddle, the node detects the moisture and switches its biological programming. Instead of producing leaves, it pushes out completely different structures known as water roots. Water roots are physically different from soil roots. They are thinner, more fragile, and specially designed to absorb oxygen directly from the water, rather than extracting it from air pockets in the dirt. This is the core principle of smart, self-sufficient gardening. We are simply hijacking the plant's natural survival instinct to do all the heavy lifting for us. You do not need expensive rooting powders or climate-controlled greenhouses. By just providing a clean jar and a little patience, you are setting up a microscopic factory that works for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, let us look at the 20 champions of the water glass. Let us start with the absolute undisputed champion of water propagation, the mighty pothos. If you have ever felt like you lack a green thumb, this is the plant that will completely change your perspective. Think of the pothos as the friendly, highly productive weed of the indoor jungle. It is so stubbornly determined to live that it will push out bright white roots in just a matter of days. But here is the real secret that smart homesteaders know. Pothos cuttings actually release their own natural rooting hormone directly into the water. This means if you place a pothos cutting in a jar with a completely different, more stubborn plant, the pothos acts as a chemical catalyst, forcing the other plant to root faster. It is like having a natural garden assistant working for you. To do this correctly, you must find a healthy vine and look for the small brown bumps along the stem. These are the nodes. Snip the vine about 1 inch below one of these bumps. Drop it into a glass of plain tap water, making sure no leaves are submerged, as rotting leaves will ruin your water quality. Within 1 week, you will see delicate white tendrils shooting out. You never have to buy another pothos again, because one single mother plant can give you hundreds of free clones over its lifetime. This is the ultimate self-sufficiency hack for your indoor living spaces. Moving on to our second plant, we have the incredibly generous spider plant. For the practical indoor gardener, this plant behaves very much like a strawberry patch. It produces long runners that shoot out from the main plant, and at the end of each runner, a miniature, fully formed baby plant develops. These are called spiderets. This plant is essentially a continuous assembly line of free greenery. While these babies can sometimes root in the air, removing them and placing them in water accelerates the process tenfold. The trick here is precision. You want to snip the baby plant off the runner and place only the very bottom base, the little knobby part, into the water. If you submerge the entire baby, the crown will suffocate and turn into mush. I like to use a small glass or even a shot glass for this, so the leaves can rest on the rim while the base gently touches the water. Within 3 to 5 days, thick, fleshy roots will spiral down into the glass. The spider plant is fantastic for filtering indoor air, making it a highly functional addition to your homestead. Once those roots are about 2 inches long, you can pot them up, or just leave them in the water permanently as a beautiful, low-maintenance centerpiece. Now, prepare to have your mind blown with our third plant, the snake plant. Wait a minute, you might be thinking. Is not the snake plant a desert native that rots if you look at it with too much water? That is the great myth of traditional houseplant care. Yes, in soil, overwatering will quickly kill a snake plant, but in pure water, it behaves completely differently. This is where the magic of water propagation shines. You do not even need a whole leaf. You can take one single, tall snake plant leaf and cut it horizontally into several pieces, each about 3 inches long. You are literally turning one leaf into 5 new plants. However, there is a critical rule you must follow, known as polarity. The plant piece must be placed in the water in the exact same direction it was growing. If you put the top end facing down into the water, it will become confused, refuse to root, and eventually die. I always cut a small inverted V shape at the bottom of each cutting. This helps me remember which end is down, and it also prevents the cutting from sitting flat against the bottom of the glass, allowing maximum water surface area for root development. It takes about 4 weeks to see action, but watching a desert warrior learn to swim is a fascinating process. Our fourth plant is the architectural masterpiece known as the ZZ plant. If you want a plant that looks like it belongs in a high-end designer home but requires the care level of a plastic rock, this is it. The ZZ plant is famous for surviving in dark corners with almost no attention. Propagating it in water requires an ingredient that every true gardener must cultivate: patience. While a pothos might root in 3 days, a ZZ plant might take 3 months. But the reward is absolutely worth the wait. You can propagate this plant from a whole stem cutting, or incredibly, from just a single leaflet plucked from the stem. If you take a leaflet, let the cut end dry out for 1 full day before dropping it into a shallow dish of water. This drying process prevents bacterial rot. Over several weeks, you will notice a small potato-like bulb forming at the base of the leaf. This bulb is called a rhizome, and it is the plant's personal water storage tank. Once that little bulb forms and shoots out a few roots, you have successfully cloned one of the most expensive plants in the garden center for absolutely 0 cost. It is like a slow-cooking stew. It takes a considerable amount of time, but the end result is immensely satisfying. Let us talk about the giant of the indoor jungle, our fifth plant, the Monstera deliciosa. Known for its massive split leaves that look like Swiss cheese, buying a large monstera can cost you a small fortune. But why buy one when you can easily root a cutting in a vase? The monstera is an epiphyte, meaning in its natural habitat it uses thick, brown aerial roots to climb up the trunks of massive trees. When you take a cutting, you must ensure you include at least one of these aerial roots, along with a healthy leaf and a piece of the main stem. This combination is your golden ticket. When you place that thick, woody aerial root into a large jar of water, something magical happens. The tough brown exterior softens, and hundreds of tiny, white, delicate water roots burst out from its sides. It is like watching a creature reach out and grab a lifeline. Because monstera cuttings are large and top-heavy, you will need a heavy glass vase to keep them from tipping over. Change the water every week to keep it highly oxygenated. Within a month, you will have a robust root system ready to support a massive new plant. This is the smartest way to share this tropical giant with your friends without spending a single dollar. Our sixth plant is the beloved heartleaf philodendron. At first glance, you might mistake it for a pothos, but the philodendron has softer, perfectly heart-shaped leaves and a slightly more delicate trailing habit. For the lazy gardener, this is a dream come true. The process is nearly identical to the pothos. Find a node, make a clean cut, and submerge it in water. However, philodendrons are a bit more sensitive to water quality. If your tap water has high levels of chlorine or fluoride, the cutting might struggle and the leaves could turn yellow. The smart workaround here is simple. Fill your glass with tap water and let it sit uncovered on the counter for 24 hours before putting your cutting in. This allows the harmful chemicals to evaporate naturally. Think of it as preparing a fresh, clean cup of morning coffee for your plant. Keep the glass in bright, indirect light and watch the incredibly fast root growth. Once the roots are a few inches long, you can leave the philodendron in the water indefinitely. Just remember to top off the glass as the water evaporates. A row of glass bottles filled with rooting philodendrons makes a stunning living curtain for any brightly lit window in your home. Plant number 7 brings an absolute explosion of color to the table, the coleus. Now, many homesteaders treat coleus as an outdoor summer annual, planting it in garden beds for its brilliant neon pink, purple, and green foliage. But here is the ultimate money-saving trick. Instead of letting the winter frost kill your beautiful outdoor coleus, you can take cuttings in the late fall and root them indoors in water. This is how you preserve your favorite garden varieties year after year without buying new seeds or starter plants. The coleus is an aggressive rooter. Simply snip a vibrant stem, pinch off the bottom leaves so they do not rot in the water, and place it in a bright spot. Within just 5 days, you will see a massive web of roots forming. The coleus is like a chameleon, saving its brightest and best colors for your sunny kitchen window. By keeping these cuttings in water all winter long, you create a living gene bank. When spring arrives, you will have dozens of fully rooted, robust plants ready to go right back out into the garden dirt. It is a brilliant, zero-waste cycle that perfectly aligns with the self-sufficient homesteading philosophy. Next up is plant number 8, the stunningly intricate begonia. Whether you prefer the dramatic Rex begonias with their metallic painted leaves or the classic angel wing varieties, these plants are surprisingly willing to multiply in water. The begonia offers a truly unique propagation method that feels a bit like mad science. While you can certainly root a standard stem cutting, many large leaf begonias can be rooted from just a single leaf. You simply snip a healthy leaf with its attached stem, also known as the petiole, and place the stem into a small glass of water. But here is the fascinating part. The new baby plant will not grow from the base of the roots. Instead, a tiny, perfectly formed miniature begonia will sprout right at the point where the stem meets the leaf under the water. It is like cloning a masterpiece from a single brushstroke. Because begonia stems are very fleshy and hold a lot of moisture, they are highly susceptible to bacterial rot. To prevent this, make sure your cutting tools are sterilized with rubbing alcohol before you make the snip, and change the water every 3 days. The resulting root system is incredibly delicate and fine, looking almost like a tuft of white cotton candy. Plant number 9 is the classic, elegant English ivy. Outdoors, this plant can be an aggressive, invasive menace that swallows entire brick walls. But indoors, tamed inside a glass vessel, it becomes a sophisticated cascading houseguest. Rooting English ivy requires a specific understanding of the plant's anatomy. If you take a cutting from the very tip of a vine where the stem is soft, green, and highly flexible, it may rot before it ever forms roots. The secret is to cut slightly further back on the vine, where the stem has become woody and slightly brown. This older, tougher wood contains the stored energy necessary to push out sturdy water roots. Strip the bottom leaves off your cutting to expose the nodes and place the woody stem into your water glass. English ivy cuttings love high humidity while they are rooting. If your house is particularly dry, especially in the winter, you can place a clear plastic bag loosely over the cutting and the glass to create a miniature greenhouse effect. Within 3 weeks, the stubborn woody stem will yield, producing a strong network of roots. It is a fantastic way to bring the classic English garden aesthetic inside your home without the worry of it taking over your yard. Get ready for speed with plant number 10, the Tradescantia, commonly known as the inch plant. If pothos is the reliable worker of water propagation, the Tradescantia is the Olympic sprinter. I have personally seen these cuttings push out visible roots in exactly 48 hours. It is genuinely astonishing. The plant features beautiful shimmering leaves that are often striped with silver and feature a deep, vibrant purple on the underside. Because they grow so incredibly fast, Tradescantia plants tend to get long, leggy, and messy looking in their pots over time. The smart gardener does not throw away a leggy plant. Instead, you give it a severe haircut. Take all those long, messy trimmings, ensure each piece has at least one node, and shove them all together into a single jar of water. Within a week, you will have a dense, fully rooted bouquet of purple foliage. They look spectacular, displayed in clear glass jars, where the sunlight can catch the purple tones of the leaves and the bright white roots simultaneously. Tradescantia is so eager to live that you almost cannot fail. It is the perfect confidence booster for anyone who feels intimidated by the idea of plant propagation. Our 11th plant is the elegant and deeply symbolic peace lily. Most people are gifted a peace lily during a significant life event, and they often struggle to keep its dramatic, wilting leaves happy in standard soil. The peace lily is notorious for being a diva, drooping completely flat the moment it gets slightly dry. But here is the ultimate hack. The peace lily absolutely loves to be grown hydroponically in pure water. To propagate this plant, we do not take a stem cutting. Instead, we use a method called division. You must take your existing peace lily out of its soil pot and gently wash away all the dirt from the root system. You will see that the plant is actually made up of several individual crowns clustered together. Carefully tease these crowns apart, ensuring each piece has its own set of roots and leaves. Now, simply place the divided section into a vase filled with water. The soil roots will gradually adapt to their new aquatic environment. No more guessing when to water, and no more dramatic drooping. The peace lily transforms from a high-maintenance diva into a self-watering masterpiece that will constantly push out beautiful white flowers. Moving on to plant number 12, we have the thick, sturdy jade plant. This is where we break the rules of gardening once again. The jade plant is a succulent. Traditional wisdom dictates that succulents store water in their leaves and will instantly rot and turn to mush if left sitting in water. While that is true for the leaves, the stem tells a different story. You can absolutely water propagate a jade plant, and it is a fantastic way to save a plant that has suffered from root rot in soggy soil. The critical step here is the curing process. When you take a cutting from a jade plant, the wound is wet and vulnerable. You must leave the cutting on a dry paper towel out of direct sunlight for at least 3 to 5 days. This allows the cut end to form a hard, dry callus. Think of it as the plant healing a wound to form a scab. Once that callus is completely solid, you can suspend the stem in a glass of water. Roots will eventually push right through that tough callus. It is a slower process, often taking up to a month, but it proves that even desert dwellers can adapt to a watery environment when given the correct preparation. Plant number 13 is the charming old-fashioned African violet. Known for their fuzzy leaves and bright, jewel-toned flowers, these plants are often considered delicate and fussy. Getting water anywhere near their fuzzy leaves usually results in permanent brown spots. So, how do we water propagate a plant that hates getting wet? With careful engineering, you only need a single healthy leaf attached to about 2 inches of its stem. The goal is to submerge only the bottom inch of the stem into the water, while keeping the leaf completely dry and elevated. One brilliant homesteader trick is to take a piece of plastic wrap, stretch it tightly over the top of a small jar or glass, and secure it with a rubber band. Poke a small hole in the center of the plastic wrap and slide the African violet stem through the hole until it touches the water below. The plastic wrap acts as a dry barrier, supporting the fuzzy leaf in the air while the stem drinks below. After a few weeks, a tiny cluster of roots will form, followed by microscopic, fuzzy baby leaves emerging right beneath the waterline. It is a delicate balancing act, like a tightrope walker suspended over a pool. Our 14th plant is the incredibly versatile sweet potato vine. Now, you might be thinking of the actual vegetable from your garden, and yes, this technique works perfectly for that too. Many smart homesteaders bring ornamental sweet potato vines indoors to act as dramatic, cascading houseplants during the colder months. Their lime green or deep purple leaves add an intense splash of color to any room. This vine is incredibly vigorous. Simply take a cutting, remove the lower foliage, and drop it in water. Because the sweet potato vine grows so rapidly, it is a very thirsty plant. You will notice the water level in your jar dropping significantly faster than with other cuttings. It acts like a biological water pump. Within days, you will see thick, aggressive roots forming. This is an excellent plant for those who want quick gratification and a large trailing display in a short amount of time. Plus, if you are using an edible variety, you are essentially growing slips that can be planted straight into your vegetable garden beds as soon as the danger of the last spring frost has completely passed. It is the perfect bridge between indoor beauty and outdoor productivity. Plant number 15 is the Chinese evergreen, also known as aglaonema. If you have a room in your house with terrible lighting where nothing seems to survive, this is the plant you need. It is the ultimate shadow dweller, capable of pushing out beautiful patterned foliage in incredibly low light conditions. Fortunately for us, it is also highly agreeable to water propagation, because the stems are thick and hold a lot of sap. You want to use a very sharp, sterilized knife to take your cutting, ensuring a clean wound that will not easily succumb to rot. Place the cutting in a sturdy jar. What makes the Chinese evergreen unique is that it actually prefers to root in a slightly darker environment. While most cuttings want bright indirect light, this plant behaves like a ninja operating perfectly in the shadows. Keep the water very clean, changing it weekly, and be patient. The roots that form are thick, white, and fleshy, resembling small carrots. Once rooted, they look incredible, growing permanently in large decorative glass vases placed in hallways or bathrooms where traditional soil-potted plants would quickly fade away from lack of sunlight. Next is plant number 16, the deeply textured peperomia, with hundreds of varieties ranging from the ripple peperomia with its deep, crinkled valleys to the watermelon peperomia featuring silver stripes. This plant is a collector's dream. The peperomia holds a secret weapon. It stores massive amounts of water in its thick, succulent-like leaves and stems, functioning much like a canteen for a long journey. This stored energy makes it incredibly resilient during the propagation process. Like the begonia, you can root a peperomia using just a single leaf with its attached stem. Simply place the stem in an inch of water. Because the plant is already holding so much moisture, the biggest risk here is rotting. Do not submerge the actual leaf, and ensure the glass is placed in a warm spot. Cold water and drafty windows will cause the leaf to turn yellow and drop off before roots can form. Eventually, a tiny cluster of baby leaves will push out from the base of the stem. It is a slow, steady process, but it allows you to multiply an expensive, exotic-looking plant, using nothing more than a spare leaf that might have accidentally snapped off during routine watering. Plant number 17 brings a bit of dramatic flair, the Ficus elastica, universally known as the rubber plant. This plant features massive, thick, glossy leaves that look almost artificial. Propagating a rubber plant in water requires dealing with its unique defense mechanism. When you cut the thick stem of a rubber plant, It immediately bleeds a sticky, milky white latex sap. This sap can be irritating to your skin, and if you drop a freshly cut, bleeding stem straight into water, the sap will cloud the water and cause rapid rotting. The lazy but smart gardener knows how to handle this. After taking your cutting, wipe the wound with a damp paper towel to clean up the excess sap. Then, leave the cutting out in the open air for a few hours until the milky sap completely stops flowing and the wound feels dry to the touch. It is like allowing a wound to heal before jumping into the pool. Once sealed, place the stem in a heavy jar of water. The rubber plant is a heavy drinker, so monitor the water level closely. The roots that eventually emerge are surprisingly tough and woody, ready to support the heavy, towering growth of this magnificent indoor tree. Our 18th plant is the architectural dracaena, often called the dragon tree. With its woody trunk and spiky palm-like leaves, it looks like a miniature prehistoric tree sitting in your living room. When a dracaena gets too tall and touches your ceiling, the common reaction is panic. But the smart homesteader sees an opportunity for multiplication. You can literally chop the woody trunk right in half. This is called cane cutting. The bottom half left in the dirt will eventually push out new growth points. But the top half, the leafy crown you just chopped off, can be easily rooted in water. You're taking a piece of hardwood and watching it magically resurrect in a vase. Strip away the bottom few inches of spiky leaves to expose the bare trunk and submerge it in several inches of water. Because you are dealing with a thick, woody stem, this process demands extreme patience. It can take up to 2 months for the bark to split open and reveal fresh white roots. During this time, keep the water fresh and clear. This is the boldest, most dramatic form of water propagation, turning one overgrown tree into 2 perfect specimens. Plant number 19 blurs the line between the indoor house plant and the outdoor garden. We are talking about soft-stemmed culinary herbs, specifically mint and basil. While homesteaders usually grow these in dedicated outdoor beds, keeping them indoors in water is the ultimate kitchen hack. It provides you with a living spice rack that never runs out. If you buy a bunch of fresh basil or mint from the grocery store, do not throw the leftover stems away. Snip the bottom of the stems at an angle to maximize water absorption, strip off the lower leaves, and drop them into a glass of water on your kitchen windowsill. Mint, in particular, is so aggressive that it will push out a massive root system in just 3 to 4 days. Basil takes about a week. By keeping these herbs constantly rooting in water, you always have fresh, fragrant leaves ready to be pinched off for cooking. They will survive indefinitely in water, as long as they get decent sunlight. It is the perfect marriage of indoor aesthetic beauty and practical, edible self-sufficiency, ensuring that no piece of fresh greenery ever goes to waste in your home. Finally, we arrive at our 20th plant, the beloved holiday classic, the Thanksgiving or Christmas cactus. Despite its name, this is a tropical jungle cactus, not a desert cactus. It naturally grows on tree branches in high humidity, which makes it an absolute superstar for water propagation. The structure of this plant is totally unique. It does not have true leaves or stems, but rather a series of flat green segments linked together like a delicate chain. To propagate this holiday bloomer, simply twist off a section of the plant consisting of 2 or 3 linked segments. The break should happen naturally at the joint. Let the broken joint dry for a single day to prevent rotting, then stand it upright in a shallow glass of water. Only the very bottom tip of the lowest segment should touch the water. Within a few weeks, fine hair-like roots will emerge from the joint. This is a beautiful way to pass down a family heirloom plant from generation to generation. You can take a small piece of your grandmother's Christmas cactus, root it in water, and start your own legacy, all without ever touching a bag of soil. And there you have it, the incredible hidden truth about indoor gardening. By simply understanding how plants naturally fight to survive, we can completely bypass the nursery, bypass the expensive bags of potting soil, and multiply our indoor gardens using nothing but a glass of tap water. The real turning point here is realizing that propagation is not some mysterious art reserved for experts in giant greenhouses. It is a natural, almost lazy process that works directly for you while you sleep. Whether you are using the aggressively fast-rooting hormone naturally found in your pothos, or patiently waiting for a thick rubber plant to sprout aquatic roots, this method saves you money, provides endless gifts for your community, and brings a unique, transparent beauty into your home. The roots themselves become the artwork. Thank you so much for watching and learning with me today. If you found this guide helpful and want to continue mastering the art of smart, self-sufficient gardening, please hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like and share it with a friend. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 20 plants are you going to snip and put in a glass of water today? Let me know in the comments below, and happy rooting.